Hi, welcome to a new episode in the Internet Surfer, hosting the most horror and creepiest stories from Reddit. Please don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy.
Have you ever heard of the trolley problem? A long horror story from Reddit. Nosleep. I currently work as a train station expert, or rather, assistant station expert, even though I tend to do all the duties of both. ASM, as my name tag so helpfully proclaims to anyone with exceptional eyesight. However, working out the acronym might take some time. Although a small station in North Wales, it is one that sees plenty of foot traffic due to the nearby mountains, especially Snowdon, the highest peak in Wales. On a typical day, you would find me behind the booking desk, issuing tickets to the constant flow of tourists and hikers, or helpfully describing the best way to reach the summit of our beautiful mountain. It is a monotonous job, but it pays the bills, and I have grown fond of the routine over the years. I had been eyeing the station expert position for some time, eagerly waiting on the day old Gwyn would finally retire, but the old man has still got a spring to his step for a 70-year-old, so I think it will still be some years yet. The day my life changed forever was supposed to be my day off. My wife Ruby and I had planned a trip to Anglesey to visit the South Stack Lighthouse, as I had always had a love for these beacons of safety, or danger, on how you approach it. The evening before our trip, I was relaxing on the couch watching the tele, whilst Ruby was busying herself in the bedroom. "Hey babe, you all packed for tomorrow?" I shouted to her. Her voice drifted back from the other room, tinged with amusement. "Unlike you, Mr. Last Minute, I packed yesterday. We're only going for one night, remember, not embarking on a 6-month cruise." "I only wish," I chuckled, as she came back in and plopped down beside me on the sofa. "Promises, promises," she said, rolling her eyes. "Just as soon as you get that promotion, right?" I turned to her, a mischievous glint in my eye. "Well, I can definitely promise you'll beg me to stop in less than a minute," before pouncing to tickle her mercilessly. "Stop," she squealed, curling into a ball and swatting at me playfully. Our moment was interrupted by my phone ringing. I glanced at it over my shoulder, hesitating. "Leave it," Ruby urged, trying to pull me back, knowing where the seductive dance would lead. "But what if it's work?" she groaned, kicking herself away. "You and your bloody work." I reached for the phone, answering with a hint of guilt. "Hey, Gwyn. Sorry it's late, Sam," Gwyn's voice crackled through the speaker. "I didn't mean to disturb you, but I'm afraid I had no choice. My son's been in an accident, and I need to get to Liverpool Medical Hospital ASAP. I need you to hold the fort tomorrow while I'm away." My heart sank, both for Gwyn and our ruined plans. "Jesus, I am so sorry, Gwyn." "Of course, I will cover. Is your son okay?" "I'm sure he will be, old boy. He is a tough nut to crack." "I know you had the day off, and I'm sorry to ask, as I'm sure you both had plans." "Not at all. Anything I can do to help. Please let me know how he is when you see him." After hanging up, I turned to Ruby, deflated. She instantly recognized my expression and moved to comfort me. "What's happened?" "It's Gwyn. His son's been in an accident. I need to cover tomorrow." "I'm sorry, babe, but our trip will have to wait." Ruby hugged me tightly. "Oh, honey, that's okay. I understand. As long as his son's all right." The next morning, I woke after a restless night, leaving Ruby sleeping peacefully. As I went through my morning routine, I caught sight of my unpacked suitcase in the corner. "Every cloud," I muttered with a wry smile, "at least saved from the chore of packing." The day at the station started like any other, albeit with the added responsibilities of Gwyn's absence. I surprised myself with how easily I took to the senior role, handling phone calls and coordinating staff. If anything, it was a pleasant experience for when I eventually took over permanently. As the clock ticked towards the end of my grueling 12-hour shift, I sent Ruby a quick text, promising to make up for our cancelled plans with her favorite meal and a relaxing bath. The lack of response did not worry me, she was busy with her own work. Just as I was about to leave, Kaylee, our young ticket booth collector, knocked on the office door. "Come in," I called. She entered, looking a bit nervous. Boss. It's Sam, Kaylee. We've worked together long enough now." She smiled sheepishly. "Right, sorry, Sam. I am all cashed up for the night. Is it okay if I head out to catch the early bus?" "Of course. Have a safe trip home. See you tomorrow." No sooner had she left than the office phone rang. I recognized the central control number and suppressing a sigh before answering. "Sam speaking. How can I help?" "Hi Sam, it's Steve from Control. We have an issue on your line, seems to be an obstruction on the southbound track just past the station. Just a broken branch. Any chance you can look? We'll have to delay any trains until it's sorted." I glanced at the clock, my frustration mounting. "It's just me left at the station now, Steve. The night expert will not be in until 9 p.m. It'll be difficult to leave the station unattended." "Completely understand Sam. Because of the obstruction, the last train has been delayed until 9:10 p.m. It should only take you a few minutes to check as it looks like the error on the line is less than 10 meters from the station." Realizing I had no choice, I agreed. "All right Steve, give me 20 minutes, and I'll ring your back." "Thanks, Sam. It won't go unnoticed." I hung up, took a deep breath, and prepared for what I hoped would be my last task of the day. Donning my station jacket, I grabbed the heavy portable torch and my mobile phone. The station was eerily quiet as I left the office. With only one more train stopping tonight, I did not expect many passengers this late on a Sunday evening. The emptiness felt oppressive as I walked along the platform and down the ramp towards the southbound tracks. Switching on the high beam of the torch, I watched as the darkness retreated before me, revealing the path of the train tracks ahead. I looked back one last time, half hoping to see someone enter the station, but was met with the same emptiness as before. "I guess it's just me, you, and this branch then," I muttered to the tracks, trying to psych myself up for the task ahead. I had walked only a few meters when my mobile rang. Not wanting to miss a call from Ruby, I fished it out of my pocket. The screen read, "Red," my nickname for my auburn-haired wife. I answered quickly, "There she is, the love of my life." "Have you heard of the trolley problem?" a distorted male voice replied. My blood ran cold. "What? Who is this? Where's Ruby?" I said, "Have you heard of the trolley problem? Who is this? Why do you have my wife's phone? Answer the question, Samuel. I do not like repeating myself, let alone thrice. And the last thing you want is for your wife to die because you couldn't listen." My heart pounded in my chest as realization dawned. Okay. Wait a second. Trolley problem. Yes, I have heard of it. It is the question about ethics and making the right choice. Sacrifice one to save many. Correct. And you lucky son of a bitch, are about to solve it. Wait, why? What have I done to you? I have money, not much, but it is yours. Just please, don't hurt my wife. The voice chuckled, a sound that sent chills down my spine. Oh, Sammy, I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm going to leave that all down to you. What do you mean? Where is my wife? Someone's got a potty mouth, hasn't he? Keep walking and you'll find your answer. The call ended, leaving me frozen in place, mouth agape as the torchlight danced in front of me. Apprehensively, I moved forward, terrified of what I might find. After several meters, at the junction of the tracks, I caught movement in my peripheral vision to my left. I directed the torch beam towards the movement, and something glinted in the light. As I moved nearer, I realized it was coming from human eyes. I rushed forward to the body strapped across the train tracks and instantly recognized the prone form of my beloved Ruby. She had been tied to the tracks with chicken wire, blindfolded and gagged. I immediately set about trying to release her from her binds as she squirmed beneath me. I removed her blindfold and gag, revealing her terrified face. "Sam," she cried, tears streaming down her face, "get me free, please." "I'm trying," I said, struggling with the restraints. My fingers were already bleeding from the sharp wire, leaving crimson smears on Ruby's clothes and skin. The mobile rang again, but I ignored it, focusing on freeing my wife. It rang repeatedly, each time heightening my panic. Suddenly, a message flashed across the screen: "Answer the phone or your wife will die in minutes." Shocked, I jumped when it rang once more. This time, I answered. "Finally. You listen. What do you dash? Shut it. You are done talking. You listen to me now, and that is it. No more talking. I will explain the situation, and then you will make a decision. It is as simple as that. You can choose between your wife dash. My wife, please. I choose my wife. You can take me. It's not that easy, Sammy. Interrupt me again, and I'll end you both right now." There was a pause, and as I did not answer, he continued. "Good. Right then, the aforementioned trolley problem. A train is coming and will arrive here in 3 minutes. So here lies the problem. You can ring control and say there is no obstruction and it's an error, or you can say it's still there and to switch the tracks." "Switch the tracks?" I cried out. Whoa, 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 sweet child of mine Sammy, have you had a gander at the other tracks?" My face went white. I drowned out Ruby's crying and screaming to pick up the torch and point it towards the same position on the other side of the tracks. In the torchlight, I saw 4-5 bodies all tied to the tracks. They were writhing in agony, trying to scream through their gags. The sight was horrifying. I could see exposed flesh where they had struggled against their bindings, blood seeping from deep gashes. "What is it? What is over there?" Ruby cried as she saw me pointing my torch to the other track. I thought against telling her, but there was no point lying in our current predicament. I knelt beside her, frantically working at the wire while hurriedly explaining the situation. "Save them, Sam," she pleaded. "Save them. No, I love you. I don't know them. I love you too, baby. But it is the few for the many. You know it is the right choice. I'll always be with you. You've got 1 minute, Samuel, before I make the decision for you and contact control," the distorted voice sang from the mobile. I worked at the wire and finally got some traction. It was loosening. 30 seconds. "Fine," I said as I grabbed the phone. "Save the many. I sacrifice the few." "Wow, I didn't think you'd make that decision, but okay. So let it be. Ring and let control know, and this whole thing can be over in a few minutes. I'm going to find you, and kill you. Temper, temper." I cut him off and rang control. "Hi Steve, it's Sam. I am afraid you will have to switch to the other track. There's one hell of a branch on the main track that's going to need a forklift." "Took your time," Steve laughed. "Okay, no problem." I looked at my wife's pleading eyes as she mouthed the words, "Don't." I shone my light over to the several people tied to the other line, wriggling around like bait worms on hooks. I looked at my feet before I spoke again. "Scratch that, Steve. It is not as big as I thought. I will lever it off now. Keep the original course." "You are sure, Sam?" "Yeah, no worries." "Okay, train inbound in 4 minutes." I hung up, and immediately, it rang back. "Congratulations, Samuel. You have made the selfless choice. Your wife will be proud." I threw the phone away as I went back to freeing her. "Leave me, or you'll get hit," Ruby cried. "I'm going nowhere without you." I cut my fingers up badly but managed to free her arms, and we both worked on her legs. But the clock was ticking. In the distance, we heard the familiar toot-toot of the approaching train. Our speed increased as we helplessly worked at her feet bindings. In the distance, I heard the train arrive and stop at the station. Knowing that we were not going to make it, Ruby grabbed me and looked me straight in the eyes. "I love you, but you've got to go." "Not yet, there's still time." "Damn it, go. Go now." We heard the train's engine start up again, and it was now or never to pull off a miracle. The next minute seemed to slow down to an eternity. I managed to get one of Ruby's legs free and tried to hoist her back with my weight, hoping she'd break free even if it took the skin from her leg, but the wire held and the train passed in front of us, severing both her legs at the kneecaps as I pulled her away from the tracks. The sound was sickening, a wet crunch followed by Ruby's agonized screams. Arterial blood sprayed wildly, soaking us both as I desperately tried to stem the bleeding. The stench of iron filled the air, mixing with the acrid smell of the train's exhaust. Ruby immediately went into shock as I worked on tourniquets for both legs. My hands shook uncontrollably, slick with her blood. At that point, the phone rang. It was him. I answered and heard a taunting, "Ah," reminiscent of the Jurassic Park screensaver scene. "I said you choose one, Samuel, not have your cake and eat it. So now, this is happening." I heard the clunk of the track change and watched in horror as the main track diverted to the subtrack. "No!" I screamed before realizing that was the last passenger train. "You are up," I shouted into the phone. "There are no more trains till 6 a.m., and I'll have the track closed by then." I started laughing hysterically. "True. But it seems you've forgotten about the coal train that doesn't stop." My eyes went wide as I heard the steam pipe of the approaching coal train, knowing it was less than a minute away. There was nothing I could do. I focused on securing my wife's leg ties as the nightly coal train barreled through, ending several lives I could have saved. People I had never met. A mistake I would never forget. The sounds were horrific, screams quickly turned to wet gurgles, bones crunched, flesh tore. When it passed, the tracks were littered with mangled flesh and pulverized bones. 2 of which had been children that had been decapitated due to the small stature. The stench of blood and viscera was overwhelming. I vomited violently, unable to process the carnage before me. In the days that followed, I was questioned relentlessly by the police. The media dubbed it the trolley tragedy, and my name was dragged through the mud. How could I have let this happen? Why didn't I alert authorities sooner? Ruby survived initially but got sepsis, then gangrene, which finally took her life 3 months later. Her last words to me were, "It's not your fault." But how could I believe that? I quit my job shortly after and am currently drinking myself to death, trying to work out what I could have done differently. The nightmares are relentless. I see the victims as vengeful spirits, accusing me of their deaths. I cannot scrub the feeling of sticky warmth from under my fingernails, no matter how hard I try. The caller was never caught, but sometimes I receive unmarked packages on the anniversary on the incident. The worst one was a severed foot from one of the victims that he must have bagged before the bodies were taken away, a demented trophy of that horrific night. Why must the killer still torment me with my decision? Clearly my psychological torture has only just begun, and I am left questioning if I made the right choice, knowing that either way, I will never escape the guilt of the lives lost that night. Did I do the right thing? What would you have done?
Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, share and subscribe. The Internet Surfer on YouTube for more horror and scary stories.